So I feel like this is something we might all be a little bit familiar with because it sounds like literally all of us have some kind of religious background.
Just a wee bit.
The word submission, like to submit in your marriage. I'll leave it there. What does that bring up for you guys? Because that's often advocated for, like to submit to your partner, specifically women submitting to men. Like that's how it's used. How does that evidence or not evidence itself in your relationships?
That's a hard one. I don't know. I mean, especially like growing up as a pastor's kid and like being in the church forever. I don't know how I feel about that. I do know the hard part about that. And actually what's interesting is my brother, he put it really well. It makes sense in the context of what the rest of the Bible verse, because where that comes from is the Bible, right? Right. And there's a Bible verse that talks about that. Yeah. What comes before that is something about men submit. It's lead your wives as Christ leads the church, or something to that effect. Yeah. And the way that my brother put it, I think makes sense that is the higher, if you're going to follow the submission thing, that piece is that's the higher calling. Men lead your wives and your family as Christ led the church.
Wasn't it like men submit to God or church? Isn't that what it is?
Kind of.
That's like the notion that was built
like
off
leading,
of it. It's
leading your family in like a godly way, and like, sort of the WWJD thing. Mm-hmm. So the hard part about that is, I think that nobody's perfect. And so I think it's kind of one of those like men traditionally are the leaders of the family and women should submit to them and, all of this stuff. But the hard part about that is, if I think that, if the husband and the man is like, leading in a strong and godly and right way, like, why would you not want to follow that? Like, why would you not want to say okay to that? And why, the hard part is like, there's not a lot of black or white with that. Like, there's not a lot of direction to that. It's such a vague.
Yeah, it's just submit.
Yeah. And so what does that mean? Does that mean I just do what you say all the time? Like,
do you feel like you submit?
Or does that mean like, it's hard because, I know in our relationship, and unfortunately for him, I am strong-willed and just very independent. He does all the submitting. And so there's not a whole lot of submitting on my part.
Oh, sure.
But fortunately, he is a very strong leader. And one that like I want to follow, whether I do that very well is kind of like, sometimes I don't do that very well because I tend to just do my own thing. But like, I would say that we, in our relationship, like I think he has more wisdom than I do on many things. And even though sometimes I might argue and I might not initially be like, okay, usually I end up coming around to what he.
Yeah, but I don't think that's submitting. I guess we have a totally different. Yeah. I actually am going to disagree here because.
Gasp.
Here's my thing. I have always viewed us as equals and we make decisions together. Yeah. And I feel like it's not 100 AD anymore. Like Becca works a job and I work a job. She contributes to our finances. I contribute to our finances. We have lives separate of our marriage. We've got friends separate of our marriage, and we can think for ourselves. And
that's where I was going.
Yeah.
That was my conclusion.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Well, it sounded like you're going on the road of, so I don't know. I don't know. I've always felt like in order to have a successful relationship that's going to last, the idea that one person is completely submissive to another, I just don't think that's a recipe for success. Maybe initially you might have that concept, but over time, I think that breeds resentment.
Yeah. Before we chime in on this, Tom and Aaron, what do you think of that concept? I know what you
Who's
think
gonna start?
I would encourage couples to, I think, okay, so I'm just going to like let the religious part of this go, right?
Yes.
And tell you that playing with dominance and submission in your relationship can be a source of endless fun. I'm not trying to kink shame anybody. If that is your jam, and you should find out if that is your jam, because it can be an excellent jam to have. But there's no reason that it has to be one of you or the other of you. It can be both of you at different times.
I love this so much.
Dominance jam.
But try that shit out.
That's the best submission answer, Tom. Thank you.